Okay, Resetters, happy Sunday. Dr. Mindy here. And I was out for a run and I was thinking about many of the comments that were on the Resetter page this morning about the book study. And I just wanted to address a few of them because so many of you guys have been commenting, and I just want to say thank you, because that was the whole point of doing this book study. Was I really wanted to dive into these principles. I wanted to know where you guys were getting stuck. I wanted to know what paradigms needed to be shifted. So grateful for all of you that have been participating. I want to address a major concept that I think I see a common thread throughout most of the comments you guys have been making over the last 2 weeks. And one of those things is that it's really easy in the nutritional world to start to grab on to the obscure. And what I mean by that is we hear somebody go paleo and we're like, oh my God, I gotta go paleo. Like, that's got what I've got to do. And you start going paleo, you do it for a little bit and then you get stuck. Or a lot of the comments this morning were about the book, The Plant Paradox. There's some great concepts in that book. I definitely think we should dissect it, but I also think that it has some obscure strategies in it that are not necessarily helpful until you've created a really good foundation for yourself. Now, let me use myself as an example. As a 16-year-old, I was overweight and not really fun to experience when you're 16. So I actually decided on my own accord to go to Pritikin. So this is back in like the 70s and 80s, and Pritikin was the nutritional hero of the day. And if you remember, the Pritikin diet was all about low fat and hop on, like we would go and listen to a lecture. This is at 16. We would go and listen to a lecture for an hour and then hop on a treadmill for an hour. And I did that for over a year and I didn't lose a single pound. Then when I went off to college, I did the same thing that a lot of college students do, where you go and you eat all the crappy food, you're under stress, and you start to gain weight. And so I did that, and after my freshman year, I was like, oh my gosh, I got to do something different. So I joined Weight Watchers. Now, Weight Watchers, I know a lot of you guys have done Weight Watchers, and Weight Watchers is awesome. I'm not dissing Weight Watchers, but it's not a foundational idea. You can't eat by points for the rest of your life. So it worked to lose weight in my college years, but then within a year, I gained it all back because it's not realistic to eat by points. Then I got chronic fatigue. If you guys have read my book, I got chronic fatigue syndrome, and a homeopathic MD got me involved in this low carb living. And it was really taking all grains out of my diet and sticking to protein and vegetables and fat. And that started my journey into my 20s, 30s, and 40s, where I really was able to keep my weight where I wanted it to be. So the reason I share this with you is that the Obesity Code is a foundational book. You can't go jumping into the obscure. You've got to stay with the foundational. I absolutely love the points that he points out in this book. If you want to lose weight, you're going to have to get at the insulin. You're going to have to reduce insulin. And one of the best ways to reduce insulin is to start pulling carbs out of your diet. That bottom line, we were not this processed, carbohydrate-rich world that we're living in is why we are so sick. One of the things that I tell people all the time is if you want health like everybody else around you, then just keep doing what they're doing. But if you want a different type of health, if you want to take your health to another level, you're going to have to do the opposite of what most people are doing. So the very first key foundational idea is that you've got to lower your carbs. So now, yesterday, I posted a bunch about protein, and people were kind of freaking out about protein, and I get it. Like, if you take away carbs, it sure seems a lot easier to go to protein. Here's the thing about protein. If you do too much protein, that too turns to insulin. But here's the interesting thing with protein is that it does make you less hungry. So it really is a better fuel source than carbohydrates. Carbohydrates, you eat them and within an hour, you get an insulin spike, and within an hour, you're hungry again. With protein, you get an insulin spike, but you're not hungry for hours. So it is a better tool, but like the paleo world says, eat as much protein as you want. In the keto world, we say try to keep your protein under 50 grams. So you got to limit your protein. I really cannot recommend enough. If you're trying to lose weight, you're going to have to lower your protein down. Like I said, I recommend 50 grams. Okay, so what does that leave you? Well, I think it leaves you obviously fat, and then the most fat will not give you an insulin spike. There are some great resources for how to get more fat into your diet. You can look at, of course, the Reset Factor Kitchen Cookbook has some great recipes in there that are really geared towards keeping glucose and insulin down, because it was all founded off of Bonnie cooking for her type 1 diabetic daughter. I think the ketogenic cookbook is fabulous. There's a great cookbook called Fat Bombs. But as you lower these carbohydrates and you do moderate protein, you're going to have to rely on fat a little bit more. You're going to have to reach for more nuts, some more avocados. We do avocados all the time in my house. I do ghee. I do spoonfuls of ghee when I'm feeling hungry. I have a great Himalayan salt ghee that I love. So you're going to have to rely a little more on fat, and you're going to have to think outside the box. Now, what I'm hoping will happen to you today, as you see my post today, is that fat doesn't make you fat. Fat doesn't give you heart disease. If you're like in disbelief, read my post today and go and read the chapter on fat in his book. He cites study after study after study about why fat has been so misunderstood. So it's really important that you go and read that if you have any doubt. The other food I would encourage you to rely on are vegetables. So in the last chapter, he talked about how fiber will lower insulin. So if I have a carbohydrate from a piece of bread and a carbohydrate from a bag of carrots, those carbohydrates are totally different because the bag of carrots has fiber in it. That's why when we go keto, I say 50 grams net carbs. Net carbs takes into consideration the fiber. This is also why I created the ketobiotic diet, because I really was seeing a lot of people that were trying to go keto, and what they were doing is they were just eating, small amounts of meat, a ton of fat, and they were missing the fiber. He said it yesterday, fiber in that chapter, go back and read it, but fiber really lowers your insulin. So if you don't follow me on Instagram, go find Dr. Mindy Pelz. It's actually Dr.Mindy Pelz. I post what I eat all the time in there. I post it on my Facebook page. You'll look, I'm not deprived. I eat moderate protein, I eat a ton of fat, I eat a lot of fermented foods, and I eat a ton of vegetables. So I wanted to kind of sum it all up for you because yesterday I saw a lot of people confused. A lot of people were like, I'm never eating again. That's not the idea. The idea is that you got to get off the carbs. You got to get off the processed foods. That's number one. You got to add in the good fat. That's number two. And then you got to look at things like fiber. How do you get more fiber in your diet? Get more fermented foods. So for me, I have absolutely loved this process of dissecting the obesity code, because if there was one nutritional question I get asked all the time is, how do I lose weight? And if you go off into obscure diets, you may have temporary success, but you're not going to have lasting success. Lasting success with weight loss is starting with these principles that I just talked about and what I've been teaching over the last couple weeks. The other lasting success lies in fasting. And we're going to dive, a lot of you guys did fasting with us last week. We'll dive into why it all works a little more this week. This week I'm going to teach you more about, I have a 21-day ketobiotic reset that I created based off of the success I was seeing with my clients. So if you don't have that guide, go to my website. You can download a free guide, but I'll be teaching you that over the next week. But I really, if there's anything you ever learn from me, don't lose hope. Please don't lose hope, because your body was built to burn fat. Your body was meant to have insane amounts of energy. Your body was meant to be out of pain. If you're experiencing low energy, brain fog, weight loss resistance, you can't sleep, your hormones are out of control, there's a reason for it. And what we just went through in the obesity code was really the foundational nutritional steps you have to take if you want to start to move your health in a different direction. So I hope that helps. That's honestly my best advice, is don't get off in the obscure. Start with the foundation and you'll be blown away. You'll be blown away. I watch it all the time where people look at me like I'm crazy when I tell them they've got to add good fat in. And then like within a week, they're like, my brain has never worked so good. So if you, I know a lot of you guys are my patients. If you have had good success applying these principles, please put it in the comment section. I really want people to understand how important this is. There were 2 books this summer that were life-changing to me, like totally blew me away because they backed their theories up with research. And one of them was the Obesity Code. The other life-changing book for me was the Rushing Woman Syndrome, which we will dissect next month. That's my plan, is to do a book study on that. Okay, hope that helps. And if you have any other questions, just put them in the comment section. It's been a great book study. We're going to sum it all up this week. And I hope it's been helpful. Let me know if the book study was helpful, because I did it for you guys. And if it's helpful, we'll keep doing these more and more. So have an awesome Sunday.